All right. Starting a live feed. Hey guys, this is Zoe Swain. I'm just going to try and navigate this live feed so that I can invite Aaron into the live feed. I've never done this before. Okay. How am I doing this? Hey, Nadine. Hey, if you guys know how to add someone to this live feed, I'm sure it's possible. Let's see here. Video only mode. Adding... what's going on? Hey, if any of you guys know how to add someone to the live feed, I Googled it and it said it was totally possible, and I need to add Aaron into this. So, let's have a look here. No idea. Helpful. Okay. So, all right. I think I got this. I think I've got this. Says bring Aaron Kleinerman onto the video. All right, I'm gonna do it. Ooh. Let's see if we can do it. I've never done this before, so I hope it works. Thanks for being here, you guys. Down the bottom, I could add myself. I think he can add himself. Let's see. Oh, okay. So it's inviting Aaron. Let's just see. Let's just see how it goes. Okay, I'm just going to message him on my other computer. I've invited you. I feel like there's way too much technology in my room right now. Okay. So while Aaron is joining, hopefully, oh, it's connecting. Exciting. I think he's here. I've got a little thing come up on my screen. Hey!
I think we're live.
Oh, shit. Okay. Now I feel like, hold on. Wait, I just want to make sure I can hear you, Aaron.
I can
Speak?
shift so that I can shift so that I'm on the same. Let me shift my
That'd be
screen
good.
so I'm like this.
That'd be so
we're
good.
in the same wavelength there.
Good. And I just had my little speaker thing on for better sound, but I took it out because I think I can't hear you when it's in my microphone.
Okay, perfect.
How are you?
Oh, so good. Hold on 1 second here. My little contraption here is shifting. Hold on.
That's okay. Oh my God, my phone's blowing up with messages at the same time. So while Aaron's fixing up his tripod, I want to say hello, say hi when you join in on the video, guys. So Natalie, hi. Please just let us know that you're here because we're really excited to do this live video, and it's something that we're both so passionate about. So please just say hi. And hey, Belinda, so good to have you here. Hey, Pete. So I've invited Aaron along to this live feed today to talk about loads and loads of stuff that is just so close to my heart, and obviously his as well. He's amazing at all of the things we're going to speak about today, and Aaron teaches all over the world, and we'll get him to do a little bit of a rundown on what he does exactly. And how are we going, Aaron? I feel like it's frozen a little bit. Just got to get things sorted out on the and my internet speed is really kind of slow right now, so I'm sorry about that if that holds us up a little bit. Anyone just let me know if okay, we've lost him. Let's see if we can add him back. Maybe it's my internet connection. Maybe it's just life. Okay, I'm going to invite him again because he's just dropped off. So yeah, we both. Oh, there you are. You're frozen again.
I'm back.
Oh, yay. Okay. So you kind of like dropping in and out a little bit, but I hope we can just I hope we can hold the connection. And even if you guys who are viewing can just say, like, if you can, say how the quality is going, even just now, if you can hear us both. So, hey.
Can you hear me? Hello, good to see you. I was all set
Yeah.
up, you know how life goes. You're all set up one way, and then I realize you're on the other
Yeah.
screen, and then I get around.
Yeah, I know what that's like. And my tripod, I really need a new one. It's like this weird kind of like got leg things and it's terrible. So I really need a new one. Yeah, it's terrible.
See, my tripod's
Thanks.
good for the professional camera, but the
Ah,
phone I have some challenges with, but all good.
yeah. Okay, amazing. Where are you?
I'm in Barcelona. It's about
Of course
9:30
you
in the
are.
morning here in Barcelona. Yeah, beautiful,
Oh,
beautiful city.
wow.
Love it here. I'm
God.
off to Egypt on Tuesday, so I have a couple days here in Barcelona and enjoying the city, and then down to the wild mystery world of Egypt.
Oh, yum. That sounds so good.
Hmm.
So, can you see the comments as well,
I
Aaron?
can, yeah.
Okay,
I see
great. Okay.
Leah Jones just said hi, and some other people.
Haley.
Yep, yep.
Okay, amazing. All right. Well, why don't we talk a little bit first? I mean, I'm happy to be guided by you. I don't want to take over at all, but I just thought like everyone would probably love to hear what you do and about you a little bit for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing me into this, and I'm really excited about our co-creative event down in Australia.
Yeah,
I mean,
me
my
too.
life more than anything has just been a desire to understand who we are and why we're here. And I think at the core of all of that, there's this sacred sexual being that we live and dwell
Mm,
as. We have relationships. We have relationships with our mother, our father, our brother, our sister. But the most powerful relationships that we have are those that we have with our intimate partners. That's where our boundaries go down, our borders go away, and we really start to see who we are. And I know in my life, in my journey, the greatest lessons I've learned is from like when I'm completely raw, naked, vulnerable, and I have nothing left, and I'm there with my partner, even with myself, and it's just like, okay, what happens here? Like, what's really
yeah.
going on in this life? And so that's what inspires me. I've been coaching now for well over 10 years, working mainly these days with a lot of men, helping men become better lovers, stronger leaders, like really taking that
Yes.
dialogue from the mind into the
Yes.
heart and stepping into like the massiveness of who we are as a being. So that's just a little snippet of some of what I do in the world, and just super excited to share some space with you, and to create an offering for some fellow Aussies down there. So
I know, I know. It's really exciting. Even just while you're speaking, like I can sort of feel like, when you're talking about I don't know, just different times, like the tones and the things you're talking about, I'm just like, oh, that's hot. And I feel like the surrender and then it's like, oh my God, it's just so beautiful. I think it's gonna be amazing working together. I'm really excited.
yeah, absolutely. And it's like, I think we, as beings, as these conscious beings in this body, we're consistently seeking. I mean, even these last couple of weeks for me, I took a really deep dive with Muji, who is this powerful
Yeah.
kind of Vedantic enlightened guru guy. But I've been taking that and then incorporating it back into my life. And how do I apply this into my relationship? How does this look? And the more that I'm discovering is that the more I let go of everything, the more I really surrender into like the who I am as a being, and let go of what my mind thinks I need to do, and especially in relationship. And I think, for people tuning in, it's like, why do we even choose to want to be in a relationship? Why do we even choose to want to show up? And
Yes.
that capacity to know, that capacity to find something a little bit deeper than just our human body. That's a continual discovery. It's a continual search, and it's just opening that sphere of possibility for people to taste, to then incorporate into their own beingness.
Yeah, 100%. I really feel that, and I'm really interested to ask you that. Why? Why do we enter into like why do you enter into a relationship, Aaron?
I mean, I find for myself when the times in my life when I've been single, I've had great journeys on my own, and I've done a lot of independent travel and working and study in many
Yeah.
different areas. But when I'm in
Yes.
partnership, it forces me to show up in a different way because I'm consciously choosing to say, I'm going to spend my time, my energy, my love and appreciation with this other being. And
Mm.
they start to see you. I mean, you're married for many years. It's like they
Yeah.
see exactly who you are. There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
And I find that if I can do everything I can on a day-to-day basis to promote my evolution and growth of my humanness, but even beyond that humanness, to recognize and remember my own freedom as a
Yeah.
conscious being beyond my own kind of personhood. So my reason for
Mm.
choosing into relationship is to have somebody there that of course I can snuggle and I can love and I can care, but also
Yeah.
is there to walk through the really high moments, but the really low times as well. And to
Yeah.
be a space of communication, of rawness, of vulnerability, of knowing that like when you just can't fight anymore, they're there to say, hey, I love you, I honor you, I see you, and you can let go of
Mm.
attachments along the way as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
Mm.
I find it really interesting, like the, there's so many relationships going on in our lives. And a lot of times relationship, like the word just seems like, oh, that's just you and your partner, whether it's, another woman or another man or, whatever. But like the relationship, there's so much like my relationship with myself, my relationship with my man, my relationship maybe with my woman as well. I mean, there's like, you can have several people in a relationship. I mean, we're kind of not just dealing with the one-on-one stuff either, like with this intimacy. Like I find, I always say to people, like people go like sometimes say to me like, what is it that you've like you're just really, I don't know what it is, but they're just like, you're really open and you're really like, God, you got this energy. And I always say that I find that for me, I mean, now, not all my life, but for me, intimacy is the way that I live my life. Like, it's
Mm.
like, the way that I am with you right now. It's the way that I am with people I don't know. It's the way that I like exist in the world, in my confidence and my radiance. It's not just like, oh, I'm in front of my partner, so I have to be this way. And then when I go and meet the mailman, I have to be this way. And yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things you touched upon there in the beginning was that relationship with yourself, with like your
Yeah.
own inner beloved in a way. And I think
Yeah.
that alone is such a almost overlooked space because so much of our lives, and I can feel this in my own self, I've spent years and years understanding the psyche and why we do the things we do and living very much in this sort of dualistic comprehension of our existence. And
Yeah.
when as you mentioned, as we deepen in that relationship to ourselves, because it's
Yeah.
like whether you wake up in the morning and you have a partner next to you, you're still waking up essentially on your own. And so if
Yeah.
there's any bit of this like neediness that needs something from that other individual, then in many ways it's inhibiting that which you're not honoring inside of ourselves. And it happens. There's so
Yes.
much codependency that happens in relationship. And I know I've done just as much of that, my own neediness, my own,
Yeah.
even
Mm.
my beloved and I right now are walking through some of our own journey and just seeing what
Yeah.
unfolds. And my mind is
Yeah.
like, but I find the more that I deepen in this inner
Mm.
love, this inner knowing,
Mm.
the world cannot throw me any curveballs. And if they are curveballs, then they're only things that my mind wants to grab onto. So if I can trust, and if I can know what is the strength inside of here, and not in a way that's like airy fairy fucking up in the sky, but it's an airy, it's a way that I'm grounded in my fucking balls. I'm in my masculinity. I'm in my strength as a man. Doesn't mean I'm going to be standing here like a forced warrior. It means that I'm a heart-centered warrior. I feel the palpitations of my body, but yet I can feel and I can taste and I can feel this, the vulnerability, the softness, the sweetness, the strength, all things happening simultaneously. That when it comes to intimacy, when a man, when a woman can meet in that space, and there are no attachments and there is no neediness, it's like I've had some of the most mind-blowing, like earth-shattering orgasms and intimate things that have happened because my mind is gone and the only thing that's left is this dance. It's this dance between man and woman, man and man, woman and woman, whatever it is. All sacred relationships are beautiful, and it's all completely here for our upliftment, for our growth. So, but the journey is inside of ourselves to help us remember that we are divine, and inside that divinity, we can then choose to be with another and then work through how that exists inside of that dynamic.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I kind of felt to talk to some of that a little bit, but then you kind of rounded it off at the end. And I really like that you have, what kind of came up for me then was like that dance between the, like, you know, the feeling really grounded and then just being a little bit airy and then flowing and all of that. And I feel to speak to that a little bit because, you know, I do speak quite a bit on like social media about the masculine and the feminine, and I agree. Like I see like some people who are really like working in this realm as well, like us, and even more so, you know, is that they say, oh, I'm so fucking sick of the masculine feminine bullshit. And it's like, okay, I get that, but it's for me, and I guess when you're, I'm not saying lower consciousness, I'm saying like maybe at the beginning of this kind of, or a journey, beginning of like understanding how everything flows and that we all have masculinity and femininity inside of us. It's like, oh, that's really interesting. And that's like, they kind of get when you talk about, people get when you talk about masculinity, femininity. And I guess some of us, like, we think masculine as man, feminine as woman, but it's actually, all of us have, like, I'm really masculine and I'm really feminine, you know, and you're the same. I know you're the same because I've been, you know, around you. And I think that, like, for me is really important to get through to men and to women as well, because I find personally a lot of the women that I work with the coaching and, you know, all of the stuff that I do, the women are like, fuck man, I'm so burned out and I'm just so busy and I'm, you know, I've got, you know, the kids are this and my partner wants this and, you know, like, how can he expect that of me? There's so many expectations in my job and all of this. So there's so much push going on. And then with the men, I feel like a lot of times men feel that they can't soften, and it's not even conscious. It's just like they don't even know how to soften because, like, as I don't know, like, you can work with me on this one, but I feel like as society, we've made it not okay for men to feel their femininity at all. What do you think?
Well, I agree with so much of that there. And I think one of the principles a teacher of mine brought forward that really, as I was kind of beginning in this journey, if you will, was that we're 100% masculine as we are 100% feminine. Meaning that, like, our bodies are completely, you know, the same in many ways. Certainly we have different reproductory organs and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the way I can be really in a softness and a sweetness and a surrender, and I can witness, you know, my sweetheart being really masculine and strong. And at the same time, that can go vice versa. I mean, a little bit more about me. I went through a military school. I'm still a, you know, a reserve naval officer. You know, I've lived inside of a very patriarchal, strong world in that way. and I find that I know how to step strong into my masculine. And after going through that experience, I had a period almost for 6 months where I went like almost asexual. I was so deep in my feminine because I
Wow.
spent so many years on this side. I went way over here. And then I've been like, oh, I can be both almost all the time simultaneously happening. And that's such a struggle. And I find that with a lot of the men I work with as well, is that there's this fear of like, oh, if I go into my feminine, like, am I going to come out? But the
Yeah.
more that I have allowed myself, and we'll touch it, in literally to step into feminine, to whether it's in like some bedroom control space or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
or just in dialogue, I step stronger in my masculine because it's not coming from my mind, it's coming from an embodied space. And that's the biggest shift, I think, for people is getting out of the mind of thinking, oh, I must always be a man, I have to take care of everything, this is the masculine way. And there's a simultaneous balance that can always happen inside a relationship, but it has to come from a vulnerability to be raw, to be real, to let your barriers down, to show a space of vulnerability, to say, you know what, honey, like, I don't know that answer. I don't know. And that statement right there for so many men is one of the most difficult things to say. Of, I don't know. And just there's a power, there's a conviction, because it's not, because when I don't know, there's an ego thinking I'm supposed to know it all. I'm a man. I know everything.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a beauty in not knowing. There's a divine unknown that happens when we move through all of these layers, and then we actually get to see the partner, ourselves, each other for who we are, not for this ideological vision of who we think we are.
Yeah. Wow. I really love that. And I think when I think about the way that I work with women and men, especially women, because I've done a lot of work with women, and my work with men has been kind of very deep in the last year, but before that I was quite scared of working with men. And I feel that I really noticed that, like, through the tantric practices and everything that I do with women and men, just totally resonance with what you're saying. Like, it's just amazing how we're on the same sort of, like, I 100% agree, 100% agree. And I'm sort of feeling like right now, like, really, if I'm being vulnerable in saying this, but I'm feeling really, and it's funny because I feel you're masculine. I know you, like, we both flow, but I'm really feeling when I'm around a really masculine energy, I really drop into my feminine, and I get kind of like, what was that again? Like, I noticed that a lot. Whereas when I'm around women who are really feminine, and this happened for me just a little while ago when I was traveling with a girlfriend in Vietnam. She's super, super feminine. And I just found I got exhausted because I was in my masculine so much. Like, and I found it really hard to drop back into my feminine. It was just having to be such a conscious effort. And for me, actually, that's what I love about a relationship, is that it is like that beautiful flow, and it's like, oh, like, I can be, like, in the bedroom, I can be dominant, I can be, and then I can just melt and just be so soft, like, and everywhere in life. So for me, like, that part of a relationship, that balance, the flow is just incredible. So yeah.
Yeah, and what comes forward for me and what you're sharing is, especially men, it's losing the illusion of control. And this is something, in the society we live in, there's so much of this sort of elusive masculine control that is out there, that people think, well, men have this and men have that, and then it creates, in many ways, it's like women who are trying to be really strong in control, but then they sort of forget their feminine goddess like intuitive brilliance.
Yeah.
See, for me, if
Yeah.
when I'm with a woman that's in her feminine intuitive wisdom, I can
Yeah.
actually sink back and allowed to be led by that. But if I'm with a woman
Yeah.
that's trying to be a man, it doesn't
Yeah.
work, because that's not the biological framework of that. There's, I mean, I
Yeah.
have intuition. I'm not saying I don't. I have great intuition, but there's
Mhm.
times in which, my sweetheart, she just knows, and I've tried to fight it. It's like she'll
Yeah.
say, "No, we're doing this," and I'm like, "Well, no," and I feel this like, I want to just like everything comes up, and then at the end, it usually goes that way, and I'm like, she's like, but it's just from such a sweet. It's not like a egoic, like I told you
Yeah.
so. It's just like I know, and it's taken me time to really lean into, because I was so used to being often in the past sometimes with these more kind of masculine oriented women that
Yeah.
have their feminine power, but are used to like making strength and control in the world by
Yeah.
trying to be more man. And there's something so unwinding and so beautiful for women when they can really, let go into like their feminine wisdom, and to take away the competition, to take away the ego, and to step
Yeah.
into that, because then it gives man permission even more so to step into a role that maybe they don't even know, because they don't need to control. All they have to do is step into the presence, the pure. If you look at
Yeah.
like a Hindu or kind of background, Shiva presence, they call it. It's just this
Yeah.
like pure embodiment, and it's not from here. It's when truly the mind is quiet, and all that's coming through is just this wisdom from the heart, and it knows when to love, it knows when to come back, it knows when to push, it knows when to pull. The mind is
Yeah.
gone, and we're just there inside the beauty of this loving, the beauty of that dance that happens. And it happens all the time. In the
Yeah.
bedroom is some of the time I love the most, because it's just like
Mm.
this dance is just so symbiotic, and I get to have,
Yeah.
play into all those roles, and it's beautiful. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that I think more than anything, there's 2 points of that. For women to step into that feminine intuitive wisdom beyond trying to be, because the patriarchy, the world, the
Yeah.
society we live in wants, in a way, there's this illusion that the women think they have to be men to try to make a difference. However, the
Yeah.
greatest difference they can make is when they step into that feminine wisdom. And for
Yeah.
men, it's really letting go of the need to control everything. And really, if you haven't, again, find ways, whether it's sexually, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, to step into the feminine side of your own self, man. I have
Mm.
grown so fucking strong as a man because I have been willing to deeply, deeply surrender into my feminine self.
Yeah. 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 That's amazing. Um, and on that, when I definitely feel in my own relationships, that, there was a time when I was quite unhealthily just one way and expecting my partner, who was my husband, Pete, to be one way as well. Like, you have to be this and I have to fit in this box. And I find now that it's like, because I'm more balanced and I've learned through the things that, through the stuff that we work with, is I've learned that it is just a flow. So I'm attracting men who flow,
Mm.
men who can be comfortable in either or the other. Whereas before, like, say if I was, on the dating scene and or even just like, even when I was married, I tend to attract a man who was unhealthily, um, unhealthily, probably a bit like a bit on the shadow side of the feminine. because I was so masculine, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, that's, it's like the lock and the key. Well, what lock are you? And okay, here's the key. So, because I was like, I'm so fucking in charge all the time, and I got shit to do, and we do it my way, then I would attract, a tendency to attract like the really macho men who were covering the fact that they were really quite torn up inside. Um,
Mm-hmm.
or just the really feminine men who were like, fuck, my mother was so much like you, she was just like such a like, a powerful woman, and I'm attracted to that. And that's beautiful. But I really notice myself now, the more I am comfortable in my masculine, comfortable in my feminine, I attract a man who's just like all of that. And it's very hard for me to even or I just don't feel that men come at me now who have that unhealthy, or I don't want to say unhealthy, but they just have like maybe not yet an understanding of like the flow. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It
Yeah.
it does, and it's like, I think that dance that you speak of is forever changing and shifting inside of our
Yeah.
beingness. And
Yeah.
I know I can look back at the relationships and the women I've attracted into my life, and almost always there was some like personality characteristic, some way of being that they were embodying that was then reflecting back to me, and it's that basic saying, whatever you see, you recognize inside yourself. And
Yeah.
that's really what happens in so much, relationships. And there's a few pieces to that. One is people not really knowing their true values of who they are
Yeah.
as a being, meaning like what's really
Mm.
most important in their life. So they'll draw somebody into their life that, oh well, that starts to look good, and then we start to like forget almost the reason in which we came here, the reason in which we're in this human body in the first place. We start to get kind of all foggy in the brain, and we get lost and get
Yeah.
pulled sometimes for a year, 5 years, 20 years. There's all different stories
Mm.
along this lines. And
Yeah.
so I find that the more I give myself permission to let go of needing anything from any partner, then that dance is
Yeah.
that much more beautiful. And it's that much more in sync with my own individual dharma, purpose, conviction for living this life and choosing to wake up every day and saying hell yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, because who I'm waking up with, I like the consistency of that. But I'm also, if that needs to change and that needs to shift, then I'm willing to go in that direction. So the dance is always
Yeah.
changing, and it's only the labels that we hold on to anything. And marriage is a beautiful label. It's a desire, commitment. But I think there's two marriages that often happen. Usually, initially, from the get-go, our inner consciousness gets married to our personhood, and then
Yeah.
has this belief that we're actually having this experience. And then the second marriage that happens for a lot of people is to another person. So then people for most of their lives are fighting two marriages in their life. They're fighting their inner marriage to like
Yeah.
this game that they're playing, and then they're also fighting this married to another being, thinking that they have to like be completely with them without anything else. And
Yes.
it's suffering, and people suffer their entire lives this
Mm.
way, and it's like they grow old, and then they wish they did things differently. And I
Yeah.
think the biggest, especially recently, the biggest awareness that's shifted for me is being able to see and and come to the awareness of those things that are happening, because then I have freedom in my being, and then I show up
Yeah.
in relationship with a business partner, with my
Yeah.
family, with anyone, without any agenda. Because if
Yeah.
there's an agenda inside of a need to connect any particular way, then I'm back inside my personhood, and I've lost the divinity of that possible experience that's there. It's still happening, but I'm so much in my
Mm.
mind that I can't actually see it. And that
Yeah.
might sound like a little much for some of you, which is
Yeah.
fine. It's great,
Mm.
but it's a process. What I can say more than anything is that there's a wisdom inside of you. There's a divine knowing. And the more that you trust, intuition, that wisdom is like a muscle. The more we lean into it, the more that we give it a space to breathe, to share, to communicate, to exercise, to come into a space, into a gathering with other people who are doing that same thing, and poking at our vulnerabilities, poking at our insecurities, then the more you can live into a world without an agenda in any human interaction. And without any agenda, then it's beautiful. It's beautiful, because then all you see is the presence of that person. All you see is love. And that's all it is. It's not some airy fairy, oh, there is love. It's like, no, it's grounded. I'm in my fucking balls. I'm in my body. And I just experience you as love. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a part of, you know, I kind of feel that, and I mean, you've traveled all over the world, but I really feel that, and I probably will get in trouble for saying that, but with Australian men, I feel like there's so much shame around softening, and there's so much shame around, like, you know, like, oh, feeling, you know, love. And it's like, actually, you can be really deeply dropping down into like being grounded and being ballsy and being like a powerhouse, and still have that heart open. You know, I really feel that, and I know that for myself, that that's totally possible. And I feel that's a really big part of that is presence. Like, for me, I wrote some notes before we started, and you know, for me, there's a few things that really come up as to, like, okay, for me anyway, what do I offer people? Like, what are the keys to what I offer people, whether it be in workshops, like our workshop coming up, or whether it be in one-on-one sessions, or whether it, you know, just be as friendships, you know, when they ask me what the fuck's going on, or, you know, for me, there's presence. Like, presence kind of rules everything for me. There's vulnerability. I feel like is the other big one. And surrender. Yeah, like just exactly like you just said, being able to surrender. And I feel like, you know, those three in particular, I have a couple others, like, you know, but those three in particular are probably so far in like my consciousness that I've learned, you know, the things I've learned is like what can completely change you as a person, and the way that you live in your relationships. And I think you were really right there before, what you know, basically, I feel like what you might have been saying at the beginning of just before was you're pretty much dating yourself. You know, when you feel that, like, oh, I don't feel, you know, like they said this and that, but it's like, actually, what's your hang up? Like, that's me. I've taken that a certain way, or, you know? Yeah,
And
go.
one of the things you touched upon was that surrender. And I think there's a lot of, let's just kind of give a bit more of a meaning towards surrender, because I think that, I'm just going to surrender. I'm just going to be, and that, especially in that, like, macho man, I'm not going to surrender. And, you know, when you said about men softening, I'll touch upon the surrender in a minute. Again, I came through a military background. Like, I you know, to hug another man and to be in that space, there was so much mental jargon going on in my brain, that when I actually could, like, hug a man and, like, feel a love that didn't have to be sexual, it didn't have to be intimate. It was more intimate and more meaningful when I let go of all of the borders and boundaries that I'd held on to around it. And that was such a sweet, sweet surrender, because we're never surrendering to another individual. We're not surrendering to another friend, to a mother, to a father, brother, sister, girlfriend, boyfriend. We're actually surrendering. You could call it to authentic self, to God, to divinity, to whatever word you want to put to it. It doesn't really matter. It's that space beyond the mind, beyond our human flesh bodysuit. We're surrendering to truth. We're surrendering to the truth of our existence, the truth of our life, the truth of the vibration of our beingness that does not die.
Yeah.
It was never born. It's the truth of our full capacity to show up in every potentiality that we are as a person. And when we can surrender into that, then the love that we give, the impact that we have in our lives, the people that we touch, all of those things comes from such a pure space. You know, when somebody walks into a room and they're in presence, they're willing to surrender. They're just in nothing else other than their pure, as Matilda said, their pure, authentic self. And it's a beautiful, beautiful state, because everything else is gone. And that is the opportunity. That is the opportunity in sacred union with another. And whether that sacred union is female, female, male, female, male, male, it does not matter. It doesn't matter whatever label, name, whatever you want to reference yourself as in this human experience. It's a gift to surrender to the divine. It's a gift to surrender into everything that your mind can't even begin to comprehend. So all you have to do is be vulnerable to show up into places that I remember I had years ago, I was just about to take a job on a ship going out to Africa. And I had just upgraded my license and I was feeling great. And I woke up at my sister's place in Boston, and every part of my beingness was like, you can't go. And my mind was like, but I'm doing this, I'm making more money, I'm traveling here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Why? And I just sat there unable to move. And what happened was, when I leaned into that 5% of the intuition that was leading me somewhere else, it's really one of the key points that led me, instead of to Africa, out to LA to studying spiritual psychology for 2 years and getting my master's degree. But I remember it was just like, I had that little flavor. It was that intuition, like, I think I should go that way. And then as soon as I did, I started to feel all the stagnation, all the anxiety in the body. So if you're listening to this, if there's just a little taste of maybe something's not working in your life, maybe you realize you're at wit's end and you want a little bit more, come spend some time with us. You know, get vulnerable, get raw, because if not now, then when? If not going to be a year, 2 years, if not now, then when? Now is the time. Now is the only thing we ever know. There actually was no future and there is no past. It's just happening now. Our mind just creates that, so it gives us more identity.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, that's so true. And on that, I mean, we haven't even touched on, you know, we've been doing this whole video and just kind of like shooting the shit, really. But I feel like we should mention that we have a workshop coming up. I mean, I know we have it on Facebook, but for a lot of the people who are checking in here, they would have no idea. So if any of you are kind of interested in really stepping beyond, or you are feeling a little bit stuck, or you're just like, I can't really make sense of my relationship, or, you know, the patterns that keep repeating and why do I keep attracting this kind of lover and, you know, not the one that I want, or, you know, all of these kind of imbalances in our life that we don't understand, then we do have our workshop coming up, and I'll talk a little bit about that, just because it's here in Newcastle in New South Wales in Australia, and it's on the 9th and 10th of December, and we're hosting it at a beautiful space at Warners Bay. I just did a workshop the other morning there for some couples who are about to birth and who had just not long birthed children, and just in keeping the intimacy alive. And it's just such it's a beautiful place to be, and it's just right on the edge of the forest, and it's just it's really, really cool. So yeah, if you are interested in that, I'm actually going to look over to my left right now, and I'm going to post a link to my website where you can get tickets for that. And if you have any questions or anything, you know, you're welcome. Like, you guys can see Aaron's here. You're welcome to message Aaron or myself. Aaron does a lot of one-on-ones and also online courses for men. Yeah, is that right?
Yeah. I just recently finished recording an 8-week course about how men can be more conscious in the bedroom. I'm going to be releasing that pretty
Yum.
shortly. I have
Yes.
I have a live week-long Tantra couple training in Costa Rica in November that I'll be assisting my beloved Sophia in.
Yeah.
And some beautiful men's work happening in Bali in January, just a week-long dive
Yeah.
with men. That's a sacred masculine immersion. Really excited about that with my brother Oliver. I'm actually going to see down in Egypt. Really excited to see how that moves.
Wow.
So yeah, there's so many ways to connect. I've been down to Aussie in a little while. I'm excited to go down there in December and hold space with you
Yeah.
and be there and check out
Yeah.
Newcastle. Yeah,
Yeah.
and and right now, if you have questions or if you have questions for either one of us, like this is my life,
Yeah.
this is my work, this is how I show up, this is
Yeah.
what I do. I love seeing the
Yeah.
spark in someone's existence when they get it and they can start living with more freedom in their beingness. It brings me so much joy. So that's what I've
Yeah.
dedicated my time and energy to in this world. So um,
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead. I
no,
was
no, no,
just
go ahead, go ahead.
okay. Um, I was just going to ask you, because I know of a lot of men who have been asking me about this workshop, and I feel like there's a little bit of, I mean, you would know what it's like working with men. Men kind of, well, in my experience, women kind of go, oh, like, yes, I'm drawn to that, like we kind of like go with that, but sometimes men hold back a little bit until like very last minute, or they're just a little bit more reserved because I don't know, I'm thinking like, are they worried about maybe what other people will think if they do this kind of this workshop around intimacy, or does that mean they don't know everything, or is that kind of what happens with men, or do
I
you don't experience that because you're a man, or
I have experienced that. I always love seeing the different kind of fluctuations of
yeah,
manliness depending on the country and the space
yes,
that I'm traveling and being
yeah,
in. And I have Aussie friends. I know what guys could be like that. They could be very like, I don't know what's going to go on in there. I can't let my boundaries down. I am going to not go in there, and I'm going to be strong about it. And I'm going to pretend like I'm really strong, but I'm really not. And then I'm
yeah,
going to freak out because I don't want to know, but I really do want to know. So what's happening?
yeah,
And
yes.
if you're listening to this and you're a man, and again, as I said before, like just step into the divine
Yeah.
unknown. Like all like I've walked in those shoes. I've been there, and I'm there at times. Like I have just as much emotion and chaos in my mind as just anyone
Yeah.
else. But that's why I've dedicated my life to this, so that in those moments I
Yeah.
know how to move through. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing to like. I know there can be this feeling of like, well, I think I kind of want to go, but I don't want to, I don't want to actually show that I don't know something or that and again, as
Yeah.
I said earlier, there's such strength in saying that I don't know. And when you can be, in this workshop, it's exciting. One of the days is going to be all women the first day, and then the second day is all
Mm.
men. And
Yes.
both of us will be facilitating through this. And in the
Mm.
evening will be a opportunity on Saturday for the men to kind of meet the women at that sacred space that they've built up. And
Yes.
when brothers connect in this way, this past winter
Yeah.
I was in a brothers circle for quite a few months, and I was doing quite a few events out in Bali. And there's such a strength when men can show up
Yeah.
inside of the unknown, and they can support
Yeah.
one another, and we can test each other physically. Some of the things that I'm going to do with
Yeah.
the guys is going to be like some physical testing. We're not going to be like punching each other, but it's going to be
Yeah.
to find that presence, to challenge
Yeah.
what this
Nice.
body, this like strengthful being can do, so that
Nice.
everything lets go, and you can utilize your strength to come into your heart. I know
Yeah.
there's a fear of being in the heart, but I guarantee you most of those men that are tuning in that think that they're so macho, there's a really beautiful heart in there. And I guarantee you the woman in your life probably, you know, sees that most likely.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know you know it as well. So be willing to change the dialogue from your mind to your heart. And I guarantee you things will shift. Life opens up in the most beautiful ways that you can never even imagine. So yeah, come brothers, come explore the space and just have a willingness and a capacity, and know that I'll meet you right there.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I love that, that you're offering that, you know, that brotherhood, and that, you know, it's not about just turning up and being like, oh, let's learn about, you know, turning women on, or let's learn about, you know, it's just like, actually, we're all fucking men, and let's fucking be men in a manly way and learn about this together. And, you know, so it's not like we're going to go and fucking on the side of a mountain and you know, like stroke each other's hair, like
that comes for later on.
Exactly, that's level 2.
I'm playing, yes. But it's like there's such beauty in stepping into something that you don't know. I know, like, you know, especially even the first time I'm a terrible surfer. But the first time I got into, you know, on a surfboard, I didn't know any of it. I'm still not very good, but I love going out there because it's a trust in the ocean. It's a trust in the sea. It's a trust in myself, and it's a trust in the surrender. The same thing happens when you show up with a group of other brothers, other men, and lean into the strength and the capacity of the mind, of the body, and of the soul.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, so I mean, I feel like we've kind of like touched on the men a little bit. I mean, that sounds really delicious, touching the men, but the devious Zoe's coming out. I'm just doing this workshop to play with you.
Yes. Just want to touch you.
And so for the women, so for the women, like, would you like to speak? I mean, a lot of the women that will probably come, I mean, I feel like maybe they will have, maybe they kind of know what I'm about and everything, but what is it that you'd like to bring to the space for the women as well?
I would say more than anything, it's I think a lot of what I was sharing and bringing forth earlier is that a man is drawn, if you're single and maybe you want this to step more into your feminine self, a man is drawn really towards a woman that's in her divine feminine wisdom. Yes. Men can be, if they're very much in their feminine, drawn to that masculine woman. But so what we're going to share and to experience with the women is just some simple exercises that are really invoking, and I'll step probably that day very much into my femininity and just embrace that, still being a man, but just stepping into that nature. And then when the brothers come in the evening, step into a different role. But with the women, it's creating a dialogue that moves away from a need to compare, a need to compete, a need to do any of those things. It pushes all that away, and it just allows that natural unfolding to happen, to witness. And the other point that I'll touch upon is that one of the really key points for me is the different dialogues that we have inside of our being. It's like I can have a dialogue in my mind, in my heart, in my belly. This last week, my belly has been on fire because there's just been so many illusions that have been breaking through, and as well a consciousness of my genitals, and a lot of both women and men. But there's a as my sweetheart Sophia will say, it's like there's like this wisdom inside the yoni, and there's this capacity for healing, for connection, for a way to meet a man again without that agenda, but to really step into the strength, the vulnerability, the capacity in that feminine, that divine feminine wisdom. And that's really what men want more than anything. And that's what draws them in. That's what, there's this presence about it. And it's just so sweet. It's tangible. And that's the energy that will orchestrate, that will gather together and really build that, that foundation of feminine beauty. And just, there'll be some question and answers. There'll be an opportunity to kind of, pick the mind and the heart of a man in that way, but just to really dialogue and to be there for one another, because as men gather and women gather, then we all gather together in a symbiotic dance of beauty. So
yeah. And also feel, just to mention to that, like, one thing that I feel like I'm quite strong with, which I love to bring to this space, is the communication between men and women. And I get frustrated because we fit together so perfectly, and like the woman and the man, it's obvious we fit together and we create the universe together, and that's wonderful. We birth everything together, but we can't communicate as a general rule. Like, so women, we talk around and we want to communicate, and we want to move from this heart space and feeling and emotion. And it's really frustrating for a lot of men, because it's like, fuck, I just want to know what to fix, and I want to move forward in my, in my like pointed kind of focus. And so I feel like what I love, and I really look forward to bringing to this space, is talking to women and doing some of the embodiment exercises around, okay, this is how you need to speak to a man to awaken him, to have him create presence for you. Because a lot of women say, oh, my man isn't present with me, or he doesn't want to listen to me. It's like, well, it's not him, it's because of the way that we are, a lot of times, sometimes I just got an angry face. And the same with men, is like, men are just like, well, fuck, I just want to please her, and I don't know how to do that because she keeps changing the goalpost. And it's like, well, okay, man, I can share, like, I can bring to this space like some really simple keys to really have your woman just stop and drop all of the multi-dimensional, like, I don't want to say focus. It's like awareness of everything and not being able to focus, Yep. So the communication thing for me is huge.
Yeah, and I think too, there's a foundation that I think is important. Again, just as a basic kind of philosophy or difference, not really difference, but just a way of looking at it, is there's this presence, this Shiva-like presence of a man. And inside of that presence, there's so much of this meditation that we get to that nothingness. And if you look at that point, that singular point of nothingness, swirling around that nothingness is nothing but Shakti. Shakti is the everything. Exactly. It's the Kali, it's the high, it's the low. It's all happening simultaneously. So what the challenge that men find, and I find this as well, is like, I want something clear, specific. I'm single-minded. This is what I want. Please give me a direct answer. And the woman's like, well, I can't feel that because it's this. It changes this moment. It changes that moment. And it's this and it's that. Yes. And the truth is, that's very much how that all happens. So part of what I'll walk through with the men is letting go of the expectation that you're going to get some singular answer that's always going to help appeal. Because the part of you that's asking for that singular focus is the mind, not the heart. The heart experiences all of that Shakti and is just grounded in gratitude. It's grounded in pure gratitude. And it just says, thank you. Because without that Shakti chaos, I wouldn't be able to stand in presence. And for the women, it's being okay with, it's like sometimes all of that fluctuations are happening. And there's this feeling of, oh, I'm supposed to be really present in this way. Yeah, there's times where you're going to be. There's times where your man's going to step deeply into his feminine self and you're going to be there in presence. And there's times when you can just be completely chaotic in that way and be okay with it and not judge yourself. Because the biggest thing in all of this is the judgment that we think we're doing it wrong. But if we let go of those judgments and we're just communicating and we're sharing from that heart space, then all of that has a magical way of shifting away. So it learning to just appreciate the other for who they are and not trying to change them. Because the more you're trying to change the way that they're doing something, then you're actually inhibiting the capacity for deepening in sacred union. And the men will like, you know, she's always changing your mind. It's like, well, that's a lot of how women are. It's not good or bad. It just is. And you just walk through it and you just feel through it. And if it bothers something inside of you, do your own inner fucking work, you know, and if it bothers something inside of her, do the same. And that's like, it's so sweet, because all of that, you know, mental comprehension of, well, when he says this, I need to know what to say this. It's like, it's going to shift. The magic happens when grace unfolds, when the trust unfolds, that whatever needs to be shared, needs to be said, needs to be played, done, touched, you know, whatever it may be, is going to naturally unfold, and to trust in that. In the moment that the mind steps in and says, oh, I wish she did it this way, or why didn't I do this? It's also communicating your needs. That's one of the biggest challenges I find with men and women. I see that all the time, is that, you know, men get frustrated. I said, well, did you tell her specifically what you wanted or what you needed? Well, no, I thought she'd understand. Same thing with women. It's like, I just thought he would reading my mind, and it's like, I got that dialogue so many times with my sweetheart, and I'll say, you know, just tell me, like, you know, I know that it's shifting and changing it, but like, if something is there and you're like, oh, I really feel such a desire that I just share it, because it makes my life a lot easier, because then we just meet eye to eye, and it's like, then I can trust in that intuition, because chances are, if you're having intuition, I may or may not be having it. I don't know, depending on where my consciousness is in the moment. But if that's a really strong intuitive feeling, I want you to share that, because then I can lean into your divine feminine intuition. There's a grace there that's beyond order and all of that. So that's the communication that doesn't have it's going to look like this and be rigid, and, you know, it's just like unfolding into the organized chaos of our life.
Yeah. 100%. I love that. And I feel kind of that, I feel if you're comfortable to, we should kind of come to a little bit of a close with the video, because it's, you know, like, we're kind of at an hour. I guess, you know, is there anything else you kind of want to say about the workshop itself before I kind of mention, like, you know, our sites and how people can contact us and all of that?
I would just say to both men and women, if you have any inclination, any desire, come explore and just see where your soul leads you. And I'm really excited about the meeting of the men and the women on Saturday. There's going to be a really fun, juicy event. I have a few different things in my mind. I'm brewing up, but it's going to be a really, you know, just meeting at the space of pure presence for both men and women. So I know I'm excited. Again, if you have any questions, happy, you know, you can check out, you know, resources on my website, through Facebook. It's all there. Happy to be in support for, if you have any hesitations, or you're like, well, I don't think I can come because of this reason, share it. Be raw, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd love to, you know, if people have listened to this, we've been here for a while, and there's something like raw or vulnerable on their heart that they're like, you know, because when we share it, I think Facebook can be a great way just to share our vulnerabilities, and can be something so simple. But, you know, go ahead and I'd love if you either, you know, share this video, or, you know, share our event, and we're going to take a look at some of those sharings. And we decided to give a bit of a discount to probably one or two people if it's a partnership, but the one who's really coming most from a heart-centered space inside of that share. And we'll just take a look, and then we'll send you a personal message and say, hey, thank you for sharing, you know, our video and event information. We're going to give you a discount on it. So if that's something that's really appealing to you, we'd love to how, you know, to offer that, you know, because we want this information shared. I know if you're tuning into this, there's a part of you that would love to share this with your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your beloved, whoever it is, to say, hey, man, woman, it's time to show up in a bigger way in our life. So that's, you know, I think where we can go from here.
Yeah, and just on that note, so if you would like to share and do just like Aaron has said and share and come along and maybe get a discounted ticket, then you in the earlier comments I left the link to the website where the tickets are available for the event. So you would have to just cut and paste that into your Facebook and then share something like, oh, maybe on this video it brought up something like this for me, or you know, oh, you know what, I'm shit scared, but fuck it, I really want to go anyway, or you know, something like that. And so I think then, can you please, Aaron, just tell everyone how to find you on the net?
Of course, yeah. If you go to aaronkleinerman.com, that's AARONKLEINERMAN.com. You can see all my information on coaching. Just actually in the last couple of days, published a few blog articles about loving without attachment, intimacy as a gateway to the divine. So I'm constantly, you know, writing things in there. I do videos quite often. You can find out all about me. If you go on Instagram, it's /the Soul Navigator. I do a bit of photography and things like that. So yeah, I'm out there. I'm easily reachable and happy to be of service if something inside of what we've been sharing here is called to you. And if you're unable to come to the event, I'm sure we'll be doing more down the road, but we really would love to see you there if you're not in Australia, or just reach out, give a hello, tell us how this impacted you today.
Yeah, amazing. And so I've just posted a link to Aaron's website. So if you'd like to contact him in particular, then please go ahead. He's just so awesome. I love this man. And you know, most of the people watching will probably know where to find me. Obviously, you know, this is my profile where this is being logged, but zoeswain.com, and lots of different offerings there. Every, you know, men, if you'd like to, you know, delve into some of this sort of stuff beforehand or afterwards. I mean, I don't know. You know, I work with men around a lot of this stuff on a weekly basis. But Aaron, are you going to be in Australia very long? Like if people want to work one-on-one with you after the workshop or anything like that? Or I mean, you do a lot of Skype stuff as well, right?
Yeah, I do quite a bit of Skype. Yeah, I should be down in Australia for at least a week or so before, and then probably a little bit afterwards. So I'm happy to do some one-on-one private consultations when I'm down there. And then, yeah, again, I have that for the men, especially, have that retreat happening in Bali in January.
Yes.
But yeah, I have clients I work with all over the world, one-on-one via Skype. I love that coaching space. I'll work with someone for usually 3 to 6 months, just really week after week or every other week, diving into all the stuff that comes up in our lives and just continually unfolding into freedom. So yeah, and happy to meet with any of you when I'm down there in Australia. Excited to be back down under.
I know. I'm so excited to be having you come. Okay, so just to wrap this up, then, you know, if you're feeling if you have any inkling to come to this, fucking get on the website, book a ticket. Just like, you don't even have to think about it. If you're feeling like, oh, that feels really scary. For me, if it feels scary, I just want it. Like, it's just like, if it feels scary, it's something that I just know that, you know, actually, if it's intriguing, if it's seducing, oh, you know, I'm just going to book it and deal with the repercussions later as far as, I'm shitting myself or, you know, whatever, because that's going to come up anyway.
One of the best trainings I ever did, one of the best week-long trainings I ever did in my life, I was scared shitless. I was so terrified. Afterwards, I was like, oh my God, how do I even think about not coming to this? Like, my mind was there. It was like, but now after I remember looking at it, I was like, oh my God, this changed everything. So if there's that fear, lean into the fear, because it's all just going to go away.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. The trainings that have been the most epic and life-changing for me have been like, oh my God, I can't. And it's like just booking it, making it work, regardless of what funding I had, like whatever. And then just going, fuck, I've done it. And,
Done it.
it's
Done
awesome.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I guess I'm just gonna wrap this up. So, thank you so much, Aaron, for
Mm,
like
mm,
giving us your presence. It's so fucking good to have you. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be sharing this space with you. It's gonna be fucking magic, honestly.
mm.
So yeah, thanks so much for joining, and thank you everyone for joining in. The link's there for the tickets. Don't forget to share if you're interested to come along. Share the link. Share something about some sort of vulnerability or something. And Aaron and I, so it'll come up, right, Aaron? If they share the event, it'll come up to say that they shared the event, and then we go to their site and have a little look at what they shared. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and we can also we'll put in the tags of this the Facebook event as well, so they can share that one
Yeah.
too. So that's an easy
Oh,
spot to
beautiful.
share. Yeah, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
put
Okay.
in the
So
comments here so you can share that too.
okay, great. So look for that, guys. Share the website, share the link to the event, and if you do share it, amazing. Contact me on Facebook and just say, hey, I did share it, and it's here, or tag me or something like that, just so we know and we can go and have a little look. And like Aaron said, we're going to be maybe one or two tickets to people who are sharing their vulnerability and sharing the event on Facebook. And yeah, thanks, Aaron. I love you so much, and I'm really excited
Mm.
to see you soon.
Love you,
All
This
right,
is
you guys.
such a joy. Have a great day.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, you
Yeah.
guys. We'll touch base again soon.
All right.
All right.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.